So you're trying to learn AI, and it feels like you're just drowning, right? There's this sea of random courses, books, and videos. It is so confusing, and honestly, it's hard to know where to even start. Well, in this explainer, we are going to cut through all of that noise. We're laying out a really clear, structured roadmap based on years of expert experience that's going to take you from the absolute fundamentals all the way to the cutting edge of AI.
All right, let's just dive right in. I think the biggest problem for most people learning this stuff is just that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. You take one course, then you jump to another, but it never feels like you're actually building a solid foundation. You're just left wondering, what is the real path to mastering this stuff and actually landing a job? Well, that is the exact question we are here to answer.
So, here is our game plan, our 5-step roadmap. We're going to start with the absolute bedrock, code and math. From there, we'll build up to the core ideas of machine learning, and then we're going to push right into the frontier with deep learning. After that, it's all about making it real with AI engineering, and we'll wrap it all up with a learning philosophy that's going to guide you through this whole journey.
First up, the foundation. You absolutely 100% have to have strong programming and software engineering skills. This is the bedrock that everything else is built on. Seriously, without this, you're just playing with fancy tools that you don't really understand.
Now, when it comes to programming languages, let's be clear. The path starts with Python. It is the undisputed common language of machine learning. Pretty much all the infrastructure is built on it. But notice the distinction here. The AI engineer role that's so popular right now, it's actually getting closer and closer to traditional software engineering. That means once you've really mastered Python, adding a language like Go or Rust to your toolkit could be a huge career move.
So what's the most effective way to learn Python? Well, it follows a really simple 3-step logic. You start with the basics. FreeCodeCamp has an amazing 4-hour course for this. Then, and this is probably the most crucial step, you have to get your hands dirty. That means practice, practice, practice on sites like HackerRank and LeetCode. Finally, to really cement those deep computer science fundamentals, there is nothing better than Harvard's legendary CS50 course.
All right, let's talk about math. Now, some people will tell you, oh, you don't really need to know what's going on under the hood of these models. I completely disagree. If you want to be a top-tier practitioner, you have to understand how these models actually work. And that understanding, it's built on these 3 mathematical pillars.
And for each of these pillars, there's a perfect tool for the job. For a really practical, hands-on approach to statistics, the best book is Practical Statistics for Data Science, because every single concept is applied directly with Python examples. For the dense core theory of linear algebra and calculus, Mathematics for Machine Learning is the one you'll keep on your desk and come back to again and again. And if you just want a single guided course through all of it, the specialization from deeplearning.ai is perfectly made for AI folks.
Okay, now let's see how that foundation lets us build the heart of modern AI, machine learning. Today, when most people say AI, they're really talking about generative AI. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. To be truly great at this, you have to master the fundamentals of traditional machine learning first.
But where in the world do you start with such a massive field? Well, this quote says it all. If you could have only one single book for your entire machine learning career, it would be this one.
And that book is Hands-on ML. This should be your core textbook. It covers pretty much everything. To see the concepts come to life, you can pair it with Andrew Ng's phenomenal Coursera specialization. It's a classic for a reason. For those moments when you just need a quick refresher, the 100-page machine learning book is perfect. And then, when you're finally ready to go super deep into the theory, the Elements of Statistical Learning is the academic gold standard.
So with a solid ML foundation, you are now ready to tackle the frontier. This is where we get into the really exciting stuff, the tech that powers everything from ChatGPT to image generators. We're talking about deep learning.
First things first, you need to pick a deep learning library. And while there are a few options out there, the trend is, well, it's overwhelmingly clear. It's PyTorch. Just look at these numbers. It's used in 77% of recent research papers and a wild 92% of models on Hugging Face. The community has spoken. PyTorch is the library you need to learn.
Now, when it comes to really understanding this new frontier, there is one person whose resources are just absolutely essential. Andrej Karpathy.
He's one of the top researchers in the entire field, and his ability to explain really complex topics is just second to none.
And this quote about his Zero to Hero course just perfectly captures why his work is so valuable. It's not just theory. The course takes you from the absolute basics of how a neuron works all the way to building a GPT from scratch, using just raw code. It is challenging, for sure, but if you complete it, you will have an incredible level of understanding.
Okay, so you've learned the theory, you get the math, and you can write the code. But real value comes from actually deploying these models into production to solve real-world problems. This is the domain of AI engineering.
It's really important to understand what this role is today. An AI engineer typically isn't building giant new models from scratch. Instead, they're taking these incredibly powerful existing models and building the infrastructure and the products around them. It's all about application and implementation.
So how do you learn this skill? There are two essential books that cover this space. First, Practical MLOps teaches you the fundamentals of MLOps, which is basically the art and science of deploying and maintaining ML models in the real world. This covers things like Docker and cloud systems. Then, Chip Huyen's book, AI Engineering, is the definitive modern guide, written by a true expert on how to actually ship today's advanced AI systems. We've covered a lot of resources. A lot. But you know what? Resources are totally useless without the right mindset. So this final section is all about the philosophy you need to adopt to truly master this field for the long run.
And who better to learn from than Andrej Karpathy again? His philosophy is so simple and so powerful. First, learn by doing. Take on real projects. Second, make sure you really understand something by trying to teach it. And third, and this one is maybe the most important, focus on your own progress. The only person you should compare yourself to is you from yesterday.
And that brings us to the single most important takeaway from this entire roadmap. You cannot just read books or watch videos and get stuck in tutorial hell. The only way to truly make these concepts stick is to apply them. The absolute best way to learn is by building something.
So, that leaves us with one final, really important question. You've got the roadmap, you've got the resources, you've got the philosophy. Now it's time to take that first step. What project will you build first?